sports fans. This is Robert with WTP Sports here live on this Sunday morning. I got my SEC guy with me here this morning. We ready to talk some SEC football conference over and under wins. Who's going to reach the goal? Who's not going to reach it? I'm telling you right now, this is going to be so freaking exciting because I'm here with my man SEC Sean, and we ready to talk some SEC football because we are actually weeks away from seeing some college football action. We got to see the Hall of Fame game on Thursday. Football is back. It's what we've all been waiting for. How you feeling, SEC Sean?
Good. I always say when the calendar flips to August is when we're going to see football. You know, it's right around the corner at that point. Everything else has kind of died off sports wise, except for baseball. Now this year we had the World Cup, a little bit different, but yeah, it's football season, and I expected you and I to be on here. You know, these other people, these haters of the SEC, they don't need to be here. They can just go ahead. You know, I'm just messing though. It'd be cool if the rest of them, and some may trickle in here while we're going, but hey, they don't know the SEC like we know the SEC, so we don't need them.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We don't need them. But we're gonna get right into it. We got up first. The last team we had ranked in our SEC prediction show when we did our rankings, Arkansas Razorbacks came in at 16. They're over and under, I believe, is 4.5. Is that correct?
I'm pulling it up right now.
All right, cool. We're going to get that on the screen. We got Arkansas at 4.5 on our board. And looking at their schedule, do you think they can get to 5 wins with this schedule that they have?
I don't. Arkansas is going to struggle big time. Look at the second and third game. I mean, they got to go to Utah, and that's like a midnight game, pretty much. That thing's late. And then you turn right around and come back and play Georgia. I don't see them having a lot of success there. You know, then you look, maybe they get Tulsa. You never know there. I would assume they beat Tulsa in North Alabama. I don't see 5. I could see 3 with a Vanderbilt because, you know, we'll get to them here in a few. I don't see 5 at all. I see the massive under on Arkansas.
Yeah, I really like their quarterback. I think his name is KJ Williams or something, Johnson, something like that. I like him. I just don't know that they can get to 5 wins with that schedule. I can see them getting to 4, like you said, but 5 wins, that's going to be really, really tough. I don't know that they win any games in the SEC outside of possibly Vanderbilt. If they could get that win, maybe they could get to 4 wins, but I really don't see it. I just hope that Arkansas starts to get some money flowing into their football program so that they can get back on track and have some things going for themselves. But right now, I don't think that they get to 4 to 5 wins. So I'm taking the under on that as well. We had Vanderbilt come in at 15, and they're at 5.5 in their over and under. What's your thoughts on Vanderbilt? Can they get to 6 wins? Are they going to be competitive enough? We know they got the number one or highly rated quarterback that did not go to Georgia. He ended up coming to Vanderbilt. Do you see them being able to get the 6 wins?
They have a good quarterback, Jared Curtis, I believe, is his name. But he's a freshman, and they lost a lot of weapons. You lose Eli Stowers, of course, Pavia, you know. I think, Clark Lee's a good coach, and I think they'll be competitive. They should win their first 2 games, man. But after that, it's going to be swing games with Arkansas, Mississippi State. I expect Kentucky to be a lot better this year, so I see them dropping that one. I don't see 5. I could see potentially 4 if they get the swing games with Arkansas and Mississippi State. But I'm not even sure about Mississippi State. They're coming up soon too, and I'm got some high hopes on them a little bit. Not high hopes, but a little better than where they've been. So I'm going to have to stick with the under on Vanderbilt. I think they're going to struggle this year.
Yeah, for me, Vanderbilt 5 is the ceiling for me. I don't see them getting anything higher than 5. Yes, they can get Austin Peay. Yes, they can get Delaware. Maybe they can get NC State. But once they get into SEC play, outside of those 2 swing games that you talked about, Arkansas and Mississippi State, outside of that, I can't really see them getting to 6 wins for sure. But I think their ceiling is 5 wins. I don't even think they get that. I see them as a 4-8 team, maybe even a 3-9 team this year. Which, man, we was on a really high run with Vanderbilt the last 2 years with Diego Pavia. I would like to see them relevant, man, because they gave us some really good contests, uh, twice against Alabama, you know. And so they played Texas well 2 years in a row. Even though last year they were getting thumped early, they made a really, really great comeback. So I want to see our Vanderbilt always be a solid team in the SEC. This year, I just don't think so. Maybe once
They've
their quarterback comes around, they might get there.
they've also beat Tennessee
Yeah,
last year, and I thought they beat them. I think they beat them twice.
yeah,
So we'll see what happens with them. I think you're right. I think we're both right. I think the under's where we're going here.
yeah, for sure. Let's take a look at the team that came in at 14 at our rankings, Mississippi State. We know those bells are going to be ringing there. Their over and under is 4.5 for Mississippi State. What's your thoughts on them? Can they get the 5 wins? They have a really dynamic quarterback. We talked about their cornerback yesterday in our top 10 quarterback show. Can they turn the corner, especially at home? Can they get at least 5 wins at home to propel them over that 4.5 over and under?
Well, if you look through the schedule, the first game should be a win. University of Louisiana Monroe, I believe that is. Minnesota's a tricky one. Minnesota, I think, is a decent, mid-tier Big Ten school. They're okay. But man, I like Mississippi State here. I don't know. I think 4 might be their ceiling. If they get Minnesota, give them 2 there, scroll through the rest, they should get Tennessee Tech, who was pretty good last year, actually. Tennessee Tech, I think, was undefeated going into like the last week when they played an SEC school and lost. I think it was Vanderbilt who got them. But you could potentially see 3 there. And then, of course, your same thing we said with the Vanderbilt game. That's a swing game. So who knows? That could be 4. I don't see them really getting anybody else. They could. 5 is the upper ceiling for this team. I do love Kamario Taylor. Love Kelly Jones, their DB we talked about yesterday. Got a good running game in Bothwell. Fluff Bothwell. What a weird name for a running back, but we'll take it. The question for Mississippi State, in my mind, which keeps them under, I think they'll go 4-8. What keeps them under, in my mind, is their defense outside of Kelly Jones. Can they stop anybody? And as much as I like Kamario Taylor, I want everybody in the chat who's seen Marcel Reed play. Last year was Marcel Reed's first year as the true starter. He had started some games when Wegman was hurt. He had some ups, he had some downs. He had, so the problem is Marcel Reed had a lot more weapons around him than Kamario Taylor does. So I'm going to take the under, but hesitantly, because they could sneak up and grab a game, especially later in the year against like an Auburn or something like that. They could snag a game like that, but I'm going to go under, and I'm going to pencil them at 4-8.
Yeah, this Mississippi State team, man, is going to be kind of difficult to read. The thing for me is they get Missouri earlier in the season. Maybe Ahmad Hardy isn't back or even 100%. And maybe they could upset Missouri because Missouri has to come to Starkville. It's going to be rocking. Auburn has to come to Starkville. And if they got some injuries and they're not playing at a high level, believe me, Mississippi State is going to get up for Auburn. I don't think they get to 5 wins. I see their ceiling as 4 wins, but they do have that swing game in there with Vanderbilt. So if they can pop, of course, they're going to win that first game. If they can get Minnesota, if they can get Missouri, get Auburn, and then get Vanderbilt, they can get to those 5 wins. I just don't know if I trust that or not. We have to wait and see how the seasons go. But I'm going to take the under. I got their ceiling at 4 wins. I don't think they get to 5. But, man, they got an opportunity to. If they are playing good football, they got a really dynamic quarterback. They got one side of the field locked up. When you start talking about that defensive back over there, Kelly Jones, is that his name? So I feel like Mississippi State could surprise some teams if they're not 100% healthy.
I will say this. I will say this, Rob, real quick. If that Minnesota game was in, as they like to call it, Stark Vegas, I would lean to 5. But because it's in Minnesota, I just don't know how well that young team's going to travel.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't know how well Taylor's going to play in that game. Will he be able to use his legs and his arm in that game on the road? Early in the season at that. Like I said, if it was in Stark Vegas, I would be big Mississippi State too, because man, their fans are phenomenal. I love their fans and what they do with those bells, and they make it a hostile environment every time. If they still had those wide receivers they had last year, I would be a little higher on them too, but I'm quite sure their over and under would be higher as well. At 13, we came in with Kentucky. Kentucky is one of those teams, like I feel like, man, they've changed coaching regimes. They got some talent on this team. They always play somebody tough and had them on upset alert. I think this team is ready to turn the corner in terms of talent. They always put a player or two in the NFL in the first 3 rounds. I like this Kentucky team. I just think they just happen to be in a loaded conference that just has an extreme amount of talent. What's your thoughts on Kentucky? Their over and under is 4.5 as well. Less than what Vanderbilt is. What do you think about this Kentucky team?
Well, I like this Kentucky team more than I like the Vanderbilt team. I think with their new head coach, former OC from Oregon, and everybody knows Oregon has been pretty good on offense. Now, it's a whole new system, new coaches. I want to say the DC is Bateman, who came from A&M. So it's going to depend. I mean, we've mentioned their quarterback, Minchie. Post game, who another member of the WTP Sports family, big Notre Dame guy, said he pushed Carr for the starting position in Notre Dame last year. So now you bring him in. Now you got to build rapport and everything with your players. I think I'm taking the over, but slightly, maybe 5-7. I think they get Youngstown State. The problem I see with them is their schedule is so crazy. Excuse me. They got Youngstown State, but then they get Bama, who we'll get to in a little bit. And then they got to travel to College Station. Then you get a break with South Alabama. But then, much like some of these SEC schedules, look at this gauntlet. I mean, at South Carolina, we know Williams-Brice, I think, or whatever the stadium is. Maybe it's not Williams-Brice. Anyway, the stadium out there is crazy, especially if it's a night game. They get LSU at home, but LSU will be probably a lot better than they will be at the beginning of the season. Vanderbilt's on there, could get Vanderbilt. They always play Tennessee tough. And then what's Florida going to be? What's Missouri going to be at that point? So I'm going to go 5-7. They're going to get somebody. As long as it's not September 19th, I don't care who else they get, as long as they don't get that one.
Yeah, for me, I really feel like if they can get past the Alabama and that Texas A&M game, neither one of them games are they going to win. But can they play well enough? They get Alabama at home. Can they play Alabama well enough to get some confidence? Because they're going to go to A&M, and they're going to see that stadium rocking like it rocks, man. And they're going to probably come down a couple of notches. But then they get the rebound with South Alabama. At that point, can you be 2-2? We really don't know what South Carolina is going to be, but you got to go on the road to play them there. Maybe you could get them a really good game, and maybe you can squeeze that thing out. But then you get to get Vanderbilt at home, a game that you can win. And then, they got Tennessee, Florida. What is Florida going to be like at that point? What is Missouri going to be like at that point? Are they going to be licking wounds because both of those teams are going to be playing some really tough competition in the SEC by that point? Are they busted up? Have they been able to put some things together? Can Kentucky upset them? Of course, they got to go to Missouri, but Missouri might be banged up and might be hanging it up at that point. But they get Florida at home. I think this team gets to 5 wins. I think they're going to finish the season 5-7. I'm gonna take the over for this Kentucky team. I'm high on my man C.J. Baxter, who was there. Also, big Elijah Bo Barnes is there on the defensive side of the ball. I think this team can be really, really good in terms of playing really competitive. I don't think their record is going to show that, but hopefully they can get up to 5 wins. I'm gonna take the over on Kentucky getting to 5-7.
For Kentucky fans, you have to look at that first 4-game stretch, and you have to understand that you're where I see it is you have to be 2-2 after those 4. You have to be. If you're 1-3, we're gonna have some problems. But now we don't know what Alabama's going to do. We're going to talk about them, but if you get Alabama and you go 3-1 in that stretch, you're definitely probably going to hit your over.
Yeah, for sure. What's up, Melissa? We like the fact that you're in here with us. Thank you so much. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us and supporting us. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, whichever channel you're on, and then all the rest of our channels are scrolling at the top. We would love for you to support all of us. At number 12, we came in with Florida, and their over and under is 7.5. So there's apparently somebody out there that thinks Florida is going to be pretty decent football team. At 7.5 over and under, I don't know if they get there. We just talked about how they're going to look by the time they get to play Kentucky later on in the back half of the season. What's your thoughts on this team? They got a really big win last year against Texas in the Swamp. Can they protect their home court and win as many games as possible at home and maybe still a few on the road to get to 8 wins?
man, Rob, they always say Vegas knows more than we do. And brother, they must. Because if you see 8 wins here, you're taking the first 2. Florida Atlantic should beat them. Campbell should beat the Camels. Auburn's going to be a trick because 2 first head coaches, all new systems. The difference is Auburn's coach has his quarterback and a lot of his team that he already knows. Florida probably has the talent edge. Ole Miss, I don't see him getting that one. Missouri, maybe. South Carolina, maybe. I mean, there's so many swing games here. I say on October 17th, they shouldn't get that game, but we know they've beaten Texas recently. Now, that's in Austin, so a little different, too. Georgia, of course, is the natural game that's a neutral site, which I believe that game this year is in Atlanta because of the stadium ramifications they're doing down in Florida. So that's not really a neutral site. That's a Georgia game if it's in Atlanta. I don't see them getting Oklahoma. Kentucky and Florida is always a crazy game. What's Florida State going to be? I see them 7-5, to be honest. I don't see the over. I don't see 8. I see 7, but I can't go 8 on this.
Yeah, I definitely don't see 8 wins. I don't see Florida as an 8-4 team in the SEC. Not with what the SEC has in that conference, man. I could see if they was probably playing the bottom 4 or 5 teams that we talked about, but they don't have all of them on their schedule. They're going to be in some dog fights in some of these games on the road. New coach, which we all love their coach. We love what direction we know Florida's going to be in a couple of years. We just don't think they're ready to turn that corner right now. Maybe the odds makers see something that we don't see, but I don't see them getting to 8 wins at all. Maybe more like 6-6, maybe 7-5, but that's it for me. But I do think that this Florida team in a couple of years is going to be probably where they need to be. They're probably going to lose Jaden Ball at the end of this season. He'll probably go pro. They'll get Dallas Wilson for another year if he doesn't transfer out. So we'll have to wait and see on that. The dynamic freshman wide receiver from last year who had a lot of injuries. We expect him to ball out this year. And they got some other people. They got a really good offensive line. They got a really good defensive front as well. We know they're going to be solid in games. I just don't think they're going to pull out enough wins to get to 8. So I'm taking the under on Florida at 7.5. The team that came in at number 11 for us in our SEC rankings was South Carolina. Their over and under is 6.5. What's your thoughts on this team? Will Lenore Sellers coming back for another year be the difference for them? Could he get them to 7 wins? Can he win that ultimate game at the end of the season against Clemson? What do you think about this team? And will their head coach be the coach at the end of the season?
This team is one of the hardest to predict in the SEC. If you go 2 years ago and you get that Lenore Sellers, this team's going to be pretty good. If you get last year's Lenore Sellers, this team's going to be average, and Beamer out there, old Shane, is probably going to be looking for his next job. They have to fix their offensive line. That offensive line was so porous last year, and I'll put a lot of that on why Sellers struggled. Okay. We've done our quarterback rankings before on our show, and Lenore Sellers was in our top 10. He's a good quarterback, but any good quarterback looks bad when you have no protection up front. So you've got a stalwart on the defensive side in Dylan Stewart. You have a stud receiver in Nick Harbor. Now, Nick Harbor as great as he is with his size and his speed, he's not polished. He's not a great route runner. He's a good, and I'm not saying anything bad about this guy I'm fixing to mention, but he's a Randy Moss. Just run down the field and I'm going to throw it, and you just go get it. And then that's what I see out of Nick Harbor. He's just not a polished route runner. Now, does that change this year when they got Bryles in as the new OC? We'll see. That's the other thing. You're learning a whole new offensive system. I've got them 6-6. I could. This team could go 9-3 though. This team could go 3-9. This is such a wide range of a team. They get their first 3 games, which are good for them. I think Kent State, Townsend, and when Mississippi State could be a swing. But if they get that, you're feeling good. You're 3-0. Then you get Bama. Okay, you almost should have beat Bama last year. To be honest, you should have beat Texas A&M last year. Kentucky, Florida. I mean, their first 6 stretch is what are we going to do? I mean, you could go 6. They could start 6-0. They could start 3-3. The back half of their schedule, I think, is what gets them, minus the Arkansas game. The back half of their schedule after going through, I mean, you go Tennessee, Oklahoma, A&M back to back to back. That's not a fun stretch. Now you do get A&M at home, but then you get Arkansas, then you go Georgia, Clemson, and we don't know what Clemson's going to be either. So I'm going 6-6. I'm going under. I think they're a 500 team, and I think Shane Beamer's fired after this because Sellers is leaving, so he's going to have to be, whatever. So I think they just rebuild with a new head coach next year.
Man, I'm telling you right now, if they start this season 2-0 and then they mess around and go 2-4, he's probably getting fired by the time they get done with Oklahoma because they got to travel. I think that is to Oklahoma, and we already know what that Oklahoma defense is going to be. That might be the nail in the coffin for him. He could possibly be 2-6 at that point. I want to say 6-6 is their ceiling. I don't think they'll get there, man. I think maybe 5 wins might be their ceiling. Of course, 2 wins is their floor because they should win their first 2 games of the season. I just don't know what they're going to look like. I'll tell you this, though. If you want Lenore Sellers and Nick Harper to have success, you got to be able to run the football to force that safety to come down and run support so you can get Harper over the top. You got to make sure that your defensive line is good enough that Dylan Stewart does not get doubled all over the field every time he moves to one side or the other. They got to do the things that's necessary to allow their playmakers to have success. If they don't scheme it right, Beamer, pack your bags, bro, because you're going to go be some coordinator somewhere else or go be an analyst or something like that for a while because you're going to get fired. Unless there's not anybody that wants that South Carolina job.
Well, that's the problem.
Now go ahead.
Yeah, that's the problem with South Carolina is if you can win in South Carolina, it's a stepping stone to a bigger job. And it's nothing against South Carolina and their fans. I hope anybody that watches this doesn't think I'm saying that. Their fans are phenomenal, but South Carolina is not the electric. It's not. If you're at South Carolina and you go 11-2, get into the college football playoff, there's going to be somebody like, just an example, Alabama. If Alabama calls, you're leaving South Carolina to go to Alabama. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, if Notre Dame calls, you're going. If Texas calls, you're leaving Columbia, South Carolina, and going somewhere else. But we'll see. I mean, I don't see Beamer lasting the year either.
Yeah. I was going to say that too. Their fans are phenomenal. I love the South Carolina fans. They are really phenomenal. Coming in at 10 for us was Missouri. And even though we don't know what Missouri is going to look like, we don't know if Amar Hardy is going to be 100%. We don't know about this team totally yet. Their over and under is only 6.5, but I don't know that they get the 6.5 with the schedule that they have. They have a pretty tough schedule of SEC opponents. What's your thoughts on Missouri? Can they get the 7 wins and be at least 7-5? One thing we know for sure, or at least we hope, is that they don't have Missouri ranked high in any other polls, and then at the end of the season they disappoint us all again like they have the last couple of seasons. What's your thoughts on this Missouri team?
Luckily, their schedule is really easy in the beginning. So things I'm hearing on Ahmad Hardy is it wasn't as easy as people think. It was a pretty serious deal. Okay. So is he back? When is he back? How is he back? If he's back by the opener, then you can work him in slowly over those next three. I mean, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kansas, and Troy should not be a problem for Missouri. So they should roll through those three. So it gives you some time to get him some game reps and get him up to speed. Now, their backup running back, and any Missouri fans, pardon me, I forget his name, is really good too. Okay. So, and we know Eli up there loves to run that outside zone. He loves that. So they're going to run the ball. Quarterback's a question for me in Missouri. Receiver's a question for me in Missouri. Their offense in general is a question outside of the running backs. Defense, Missouri's going to play solid defense. They do every year. They're decent. I have Missouri actually hitting the over at 7-5. I have them winning their first 4 games, potentially 5 with Florida. That one's going to be a swing for me. But I see them starting 5-0 potentially, dropping to A&M, beating Arkansas for 6, beating Kentucky for 7. That's where I have Missouri. I have Missouri as 7-5 team. And for some stupid reason, they'll probably be ranked in the top 25, and everybody will say, whatever. But Missouri's not a top 25 team in my mind. They're in that 30 to 35 range. And we'll see. But I just don't. I see 7.
Yeah, I can see them getting to the 7 wins as well, especially if they start off hot and get a lot of momentum and get a lot of confidence starting the season. Then they have a stretch there where they got Texas A&M, Ole Miss. Then they get Arkansas, who we know they can get, but then they get Texas, and I think that might be, is that at Georgia?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're at
So
Georgia.
yeah, so that's gonna be tough. But the thing is, they get an Arkansas and they get a Kentucky on that back half of the season where they can allow themselves to get the 7 wins. I think they're a 7-5 team as well. I'm gonna take Missouri on the over because I think they can get the 7 wins. But they should be happy that they got some good scheduling on the front end of that thing, man. Because otherwise, they especially non-conference wise. Otherwise, they would be in trouble of getting to 7 wins. But I got them doing the over at 7.5. I really like Eli Drinkowitz, their coach. I thought for sure when there was all this coaching vacancies last year that somebody was going to pluck him or at least make him an offer that he was going to have to say no to that was high enough that it was going to be very difficult. But maybe that he did. Maybe he had some opportunities, but just didn't feel like it was a nice enough opportunity to leave Missouri. But I really like him as a coach. Coming
That
in at
makes one
number
of us
nine,
because I can't stand that guy.
you can't stand.
I can't stand Eli Drinkowitz. I don't know what it is. I just don't like the guy. Good football coach. Just something about the way he acts on that just rubs me wrong.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean that could happen for sure. I like him as a coach. Let me rephrase that. I like him as a coach. At number 9, we come in with Auburn, and they're over and under 6-5. This is an Auburn team that had a really good defense last year. Their offense was putrid, putrid. It was horrible, man. And they lose some offensive weapons. They just couldn't get it right at the quarterback position. They got a decent quarterback that has come in there. Hopefully, he can help them turn the corner. Can they be better in the run game? I think their defense will be solid like it was last year, but can they get complimentary football from their offense? What's your thoughts on this Auburn team? Their over and under is a 6.5. Can they get to those 7 wins?
There's some guys on our group here, Rob, that are really high on this team. Post game, I believe, is pretty high on them. I'm not. Their quarterback is great. Brown, he's good. He was great. This is a whole different level that you're fixing to run into. These defenders want to, lack of a better word, just take your head off. They want to just beat you down. I don't think that the Memphises and the Tulanes of the world he's been playing had anything like what he's fixing to see. Plus, I don't think the defensive schemes down in that level are near what you're going to see in the SEC. That being said, I don't see 6. Even if you get the Baylor game, which I don't think they do, you can get Southern Miss. Maybe Florida and Vanderbilt. So maybe you're 3-1, but then you at Tennessee, at Georgia, LSU at home, at Ole Miss. That's 4 losses in a row right there. And then you do get Arkansas and Mississippi State and Samford, which I think gets you to 6. I think they go 6-6, maybe 5-7, because I'm not sure that they beat Mississippi State. So, and then, I'm going 6. I guess you could see 7 if you want to put on War Eagle glasses and look really hard and squint. Maybe close one eye and stand on one leg. They could get Alabama to get them to 7, but I just, that's at Bryant Denny. I don't see that happening. We'll see what happens, brother. They lost Cam Coleman. I mean, they do have some defense back. Don't get me wrong. Xavier Atkins, we've mentioned before, is good. But I don't see it. I see the under here. I see 5-7, potentially 4-8.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm right on the fence of 6-7. Can they get Florida? Can they get Vanderbilt? We know they're going to get Arkansas, but can they get Mississippi State late in the season? We know they're going to get Samford. I got them right there at 6, but can they get that 7th win? I don't know that they're going to get Alabama and Bryant Denny. That's just not a place that you can go in there and just get wins. You know what? I'm gonna take a shot with them. I'm gonna say they get the 7 wins. I'm gonna say they beat Florida. They beat Vanderbilt. Of course, they're gonna get Arkansas, and I got them beating Mississippi State. I'm gonna get them to 7-5. I'm gonna take the over, but it ain't like I'm gonna sell my home on it. That's for sure. That's for sure. Anything else you want to mention about Auburn and their possibility of possibly turning that thing around and becoming a competitive team in that state of Alabama again? Because they haven't been the team that we've grown accustomed to seeing at the end of the season, especially when they played Alabama well in the past. And a couple of times they should have beat them recently, but didn't do that. Anything else you want to add about Auburn? I'm sorry.
Well, I think if you want to look at it realistically, Auburn is probably further ahead than Florida and Arkansas with first-year coaches because he brought his team with him. It's kind of the same situation you've got at Oklahoma State, where the coach comes and his whole team comes, so it helps the transition. I think they're going to have a little bit of struggles, but I think if you get to 6 wins, I think the fan base will start seeing there's something coming. And then I believe they've got the right coach. I'll go ahead and say that. I believe Golish is the right hire for Auburn. But you're going to have to give him a year or two. My biggest concern is with all of his players coming from South Florida, they leave next year, and now you're going to see how well you can recruit in the SEC.
Yeah.
So we're going to see, but I do think they have the right coach. We'll just have to see what happens with it. But I think Auburn being good helps college football.
It does. It does. Coming in at number 8, we had Tennessee. Tennessee is over and under 7.5. What's your thoughts on this Tennessee team? Because they got some games on their schedule where they're gonna be in some dog fights, and if they're not at home, because we really don't know what they are yet. What's your thoughts on this team, and what's going to be some key games on their schedule that they're going to have to win to get to 8 wins?
Who's the quarterback? This is what we don't know. They're going to have to figure the quarterback out. That's going to hurt you trying to figure that out. Granted, what's the guy's name? Is it Faison Brandon or Brandon Faison? The one that's over there that they think is going to be the starter?
Yeah.
Okay, so he looks good against Furman, maybe Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State. He's like, oh, they found the next quarterback. They found Josh Heupel. And then here comes Texas. And here, freshman or whatever, take on Colin Simmons. Good luck. That's a struggle, I think. I mean, obviously, they should start 3-0. I'll be fair there. They should beat Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech is down. I know they've got Mendoza's brother over there as the quarterback, but dude, Haynes King, if anybody didn't see what Haynes King did in the Hall of Fame game, the dude is just a dog. So you're replacing him. They've got a decent running game still at Georgia Tech, but I think Tennessee is going to be 3-0. Tennessee's question mark for the first 2 games for sure is they've suspended one of their star linebackers. Carter has been suspended for the first 2 games for taking a flight or something. I don't even understand what's going on there, but they're 3. I should be 3-0. Lose to Texas. They should get Auburn. That's 4. Arkansas's 5. Bama's going to be a trick. That's the 3rd Saturday in October. That's a rivalry game. South Carolina away. Probably going to be a night game. That could be tough. Should get Kentucky. Don't see him coming to A&M and winning. Not at A&M. LSU. So what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to go 8-4. I think they get Furman, Georgia Tech, Kennesaw State, Auburn, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and I think they either nip Alabama or what was the other one? South Carolina. But I'm going to go 8-4. I'm going to take the over on Tennessee.
Let's welcome our man T1 to the show. T1, we're doing our over and under show on the SEC conference. We're at number 8 Tennessee right now. Tennessee came in at number 8 in our SEC rankings when we did our preview on them. What's your thoughts on this Tennessee team? And I'm going to let you look at their record if you can see it on there and see if they get to 8 wins. I'm going to go first and then we're going to come back to you. I'm looking at that, and I think I'm right there with you, SEC Sean. I think it's going to be 8 wins. I think they're going to go 8-4. I really feel like they got a backstretch of their schedule where they got a game that they're going to be in a contest, then they get a win that's winnable, then they get a winnable, then they get one that they can't win, then they get another one they can't win, and then they end the season with one that's winnable that can help them get to 8-4. That's where I think they're going to be at the end of the season. I think they're going to get to those 8 wins. And I'm interested in seeing what they're going to look like at the quarterback position as well. We don't know what that's going to look like. We know Josh Heupel is a really good offensive mind. I think their defense will be okay as well. But can they pull out some of those wins against some of those teams that we don't think they're going to beat and possibly get to 9-3? Let's get our take from T1 on what he think about Tennessee and can they get 8 wins to go over that 7.5 over and under that is predicted for them. Welcome to the show, T1.
What up? What up? What up? I just came with these nosy, bro. I'm on the plane. I just landed in Charlotte, and I saw that y'all was live, so I just popped in.
Okay, are you in
Look,
Charlotte
I
to
probably
stay
should
or are
do
you
this
on a
on
layover?
YouTube. I'm on my layover on my way to Jamaica.
Oh, you're on your way to Jamaica. Okay, that's dope, bro. Right before we go back to work, you're
Yeah,
gonna get it in. That's cool. We'll continue to watch
I
the
got to.
road show until you gotta take off. We appreciate you joining us, though.
Appreciate y'all, fellas.
Let's go to the seventh ranked team that we had in our SEC rankings. Number seven, Alabama.
Real quick, Rob. Real quick.
Yeah, but
Just a couple quick thoughts on Tennessee before we jump up to Alabama. Is LSU and A&M are going to be tricky games because the quarterback will be figured out by then, and he would have already faced some good competition. But remember September 26th, that game in Neyland with Texas is going to be something crazy. Those Tennessee fans are going nuts waiting for that game because they're saying, and this is what they're saying, that is going to be for the right to the UT name. Who is the real one? Whoever it is, that's what they're saying. And I've told Tennessee fans, be careful because this Texas team is good. So if you want to put that out there that whoever wins that becomes the real UT, you might not be the real UT anymore.
man, I am strongly thinking about making that drive to Knoxville to see that game. I think it's maybe about a 4.5, 5 hour drive from Columbus. I'm really
Yeah, it's not
considering
bad.
going there, man, but I just know that those fans are going to be ultra excited. And I just don't want to get caught up in no melee, man. But I'm really debating on whether or not I want to go to that game. I at least want to see the atmosphere because I probably won't get to see that atmosphere for probably another 8 years. So hopefully, I'll make up my mind before that time comes and I can make it down there to that game.
Well,
I really
you need
want
to
to see
let me
that
know.
atmosphere.
Yeah, let me know for sure if you're going because the other show that I watch a lot to get some information and knowledge and fun really they're going to be at that game and they're going to have a little meetup before the game and I'll tell you where they're going to be. You can go meet them up and see what's going
Oh
on
yeah, yeah, that'll be
and they'll
dope.
take care of you. They're good
Yeah, yeah,
people.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. That'll be
Hey,
cool.
hey, Rob, is that a night game?
We're predicting it to possibly be a night game, but we don't know yet. Cause
Yeah,
I think I
nothing's.
think uh, I think Tennessee want this thing to be at a 2:30, 3:30 game. It might be a night game though. We'll have to
No.
wait and see.
I'm about to go to the night game.
I'm going to see.
Yeah, so let's take a look at Alabama. They're at 8.5 wins for the over and under. What's your thoughts on Alabama? We saw this Alabama team during the middle of the season. They played well after losing to Florida State early in the season. Then in the middle of the season, they had some good wins. They beat Georgia. They got Georgia's number. But then the backstretch of the season, when they couldn't run the football well, teams took advantage of that. They made it to the college football playoffs after getting thumped by Georgia in the rematch in the championship game. and then they beat Oklahoma, but then get thumped by Indiana. What's your thoughts on this Alabama team? We know that Kellen DeBoer is probably not going to be on the hot seat with the organization, but with the fans, he's going to stay on that hot seat, especially if he don't get past this 8.5 wins. What's your thoughts on Alabama? Can they get the 9 wins?
Before jumping on that, the Tennessee-Texas game is at noon.
Noon, yeah. I knew it was going to be an early game.
The game's kicking off at noon. 8-5 or 8.5. Man, I don't know that I see 9, Rob. I really don't. I see East Carolina, Kentucky. I'm going to give them because it's early. I mean, hell, they lost to Florida State last year. Now they get them at home this year. I could see 3-0. South Carolina could be an issue. That's a toss-up. Mississippi State, they should beat. Georgia, don't see that happening. Tennessee's a toss-up. I think A&M goes into Bryant-Denny and beats them. I think A&M is too talented for this Alabama team. I don't think this Alabama team is the talent level you're used to from Alabama. You don't get the shivers when you talk about Alabama before playing them right now. I think LSU gets them. I think they get Vanderbilt, Chattanooga, and Auburn. So what do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 7 with South Carolina as a toss-up. A&M could be a toss-up. I don't see the over. I see 8-4 on this team. I really do. Plus, you're breaking in a new quarterback. Which, granted, Keelan Russell should be probably the starter. Is an outstanding talent, but again, first year in the SEC. It's not easy. So I'm going under. I'm going 8-4. I really am. And if it's 8-4, everybody please tune into the Paul Feinbaum show, because it is going to be must listen, whether radio or TV. It is going to be exciting because those Alabama fans are going to lose their minds.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, I think Alabama will be 8-3. No, they will be 8-3 by the time they meet Auburn, with an opportunity to go 9-3, and that game will decide it. I don't see them beating Georgia. I don't see them beating Texas A&M, and I don't see them beating LSU. Could they take an L to Tennessee? That's possible. But I got them at that point being 8-3, possibly with a chance of going 9-3. I wouldn't put the house on it. I'm gonna take the over though and say that they get the 9 wins. They have to get the 9 wins, man. It would not be nice in Alabama if they don't get the 9 wins.
Hey, Rob. And that's surprise. Them boys, they not getting an 8. 7-5. It's gonna be some
T1, I
mad
could
folks.
definitely see 7-5 too, bro. I could definitely see 7-5. I'm reaching for the 9 right now. And SEC Sean doesn't even have them getting to the 9 either. He got them at 8-4. But 7-5 is very likely. Very, very likely.
But I will say 7-5 is probably their floor.
Full floor, yeah.
And I honestly think 9-3 is their ceiling. They're going to be in that range, but I see it 8-4. That's where I got them.
I definitely don't see 10-2. That's for sure. That's for sure. At number 6 in our rankings, we came in with Mississippi. Their over and under is 7.5. What's your thoughts on this Mississippi team? Because we don't really know what they're going to look like. Of course, they got some of their coaching staff that stayed, that did not go with Lane Kiffin, that took over as the head coach, and some some other position areas. They got a dynamic duo when you talk about Trinidad Chambliss and Keywan Lacey. You know they're going to have some decent wide receivers. They got some dudes on that defense, though. What do you think about this Mississippi team? Can they get to 8 wins?
Man, this is yes. They have Chambliss. They have Lacey. Got questions about their wide receivers. Defense should be okay, due to Golding being the DC that was under Kiffin anyway. Man, Rob, I don't know, man. What's that offense going to do? I mean, you've lost Kiffin, one of the brightest offensive minds in college football. You've lost his OC in Weiss. He's with Kiffin now. You didn't really lose many players. I mean, as far as, like Chambliss and Lacey, I assumed they were gone when Kiffin was gone. So shout out to Golding for being able to keep those guys. What are they? That's the question, is what are they going to look like on offense? Louisville should beat them, I think, and maybe not, but I think Louisville gets them in week 1. Should beat Charlotte. September 19th. I'm not watching any. If I don't watch any other game that day, I promise you I'm tuned into that one. And while I'm on that topic, let me see if there's been a time announced for that game. Real quick. So that's at Oxford. So LSU is going to be in their still infancy stages of figuring out how everybody gels. Should get Florida, should get Vanderbilt. Missouri, I think you get Missouri. Texas is going to be fun. Then, yeah, I'm going over. I'm going over Charlotte, Florida, Vanderbilt, and Auburn, Wofford, Mississippi State. And I think they're going to get another team or two somewhere. They could get Louisville, which puts them at 7. That LSU game could be a win. I'm going over with Ole Miss. I can potentially go 9-3. I could see 9-3 for Ole Miss. And I'm trying to see here what they've got listed. Yeah, I figured that. You can figure that LSU Ole Miss game. That's a 7:30 p.m. game. So, I'm going to take the over on Ole Miss. LSU in Texas?
I think they're going to be. I think that's a night game too.
Is that at LSU for y'all?
In Death Valley, yes, in Death Valley. Yeah.
Damn, both of us got to go there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. LSU, they got a tough schedule, but they get all of the dogs. They get them at home, and we'll talk about that later on when we get to LSU. But man, this Mississippi team for me, the key game right off the bat is Louisville. Can you get that win? Can you get that win and be confident by the time you get to LSU, which has the major storyline? And this is the thing that I like about college football now, is they take advantage of storylines, man. When there's something going on between two teams, especially when they're in conference, oh yeah, you get scheduled that next season. You gonna have to figure this thing out. It's must-see TV because y'all got a storyline, y'all got some kind of history that we gotta exploit, and we gotta get the ratings going. And I like the fact that LSU got that. You got Texas and Ole Miss. You got Texas and Tennessee dealing with the whole Manning family storyline. I just like the way they do it, man. And I think if they can get Louisville, they have a little leeway if they lose to LSU. But then they can't lose many more than that. I think their floor is probably 8-4, and their ceiling is 10-2. I think this team goes at least 8-4, but I think 9-3 is probably where they're going to end up at. They got some really tough matchups, man. You got to play LSU at home. You got to go to Texas, and you got to go to Georgia. And that's probably your three losses. And do they got y'all too? They don't have y'all, right? Yeah, they don't have y'all.
No, they got Georgia at home,
Oh, they
but they
got
have to
Georgia
go.
at home.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the
yeah,
thing
yeah,
for
yeah.
anybody watching. I should have mentioned this earlier. The highlighted colors, uh, the brighter colors are the away games. Neutral sites are in more of a team color, but they go to Oklahoma right after Georgia.
Ooh, yeah, and then what they do got LSU at home, so that's favorable for them too. To at least
Yeah,
get them at home. So wow. You got any thoughts on that T1 if you're still there, or can we move on?
Yeah, y'all can move on. It's pretty live in this airport.
Okay, cool. Well, at five, we come in with that Oklahoma team that we just mentioned, and their over and under is 7.5. How do you feel about this Oklahoma team? We know defensively they're going to be really, really good defensively. Probably one of the top five defenses in the country. But can their offense play complementary football? They got a returning quarterback that's been in this system for 3 years with this same offensive coordinator. We know Brent Venables is going to have a viable defense. He's had that really since he's been there at Oklahoma. What do you think about this team? Can they get the 8 wins? And will they be a playoff team this year?
they can get to 8 wins. Um, you'll smack UTEP. It's not a problem. Michigan going to Michigan could be crazy. What's Michigan going to be? We're sure we're going to get into Michigan next weekend. So if you go up and get Michigan, it's 2. New Mexico's 3. I don't see you beating Georgia. Texas, who knows? Red River, craziness. Should get Kentucky. Should get Mississippi State. Should get Carolina and Florida. Should get Missouri. That's your 8. Should get A&M, to be honest, because it's in Norman. That's the only reason I say that. But we'll see. I'm going over on the Sooners. But what are they? They need their offense to get them 17 points a game. The question is, can they? That offense was not good last year. Mateer has to stay healthy. He has to. I think the drop off to the backup is significant. You do have Parker Livingstone, or Livingston, however he wants to pronounce it. I don't really know. I believe Satania is back again. Isaiah Satania at wide receiver. So you've got some threats on the outside. Can Livingston stay healthy? You have to get a running game. They had no running game last year. And it was all, they had the transfer from Cal, I believe, last year, who was all craziness in the AC and did nothing in the SEC. I don't have any questions about Oklahoma's defense at all. They're going to be great. I just don't know that when they come against a team that has a good to above good defense, I don't know how their offense is going to perform against that. So I do have the over. I do not have them as a playoff team. Even 8-4, 9-3, I think if they drop the wrong game, say they lose to Michigan and wind up 9-3, but let's say Michigan struggles this year and is really, really low in the Big Ten, that's going to hurt them, kind of like Florida did with Texas last year. So I've got 9-3, but not a playoff team this year.
Yeah, for me, Oklahoma, we know they're going to have a really good defense. I got them going over. I think they can get to 8 wins. The thing for me with them though, man, is and I think they're gonna have to get this thing figured out. Is you can't be one dimensional in the SEC, and it's not because the team made you one dimensional. It's just because you can't do a certain thing. And if they cannot run the football, they are going to be in trouble, man. And they can't. They've already shown that John Mateer cannot be your exclusive runner. He can't be the guy that gets all your runs, and you think he's going to make it through the SEC unscathed because that just doesn't happen. And I think if their defense plays like it did last year, like you said, they got to get at least 17 points. I'm thinking more like 20 to be really safe. 17 for a lot of those teams can be a really safe number, but to get some of them better teams in the SEC, it's going to have to be 20 or more. And I don't know that they can get to that. But they got to get the running game established, man. They got to make that happen. This offensive line will be back. They'll be a year older, but they're still very, very young. I don't know that they really fixed their offensive line. I don't think that their running game is going to be there. So I got them. They're ceiling at 9-3. Their floor is probably 7-5, but I think they get the 8 wins and end up 8-4. This Oklahoma team. As long as they don't beat Texas, I don't care what the rest what the rest of the season looks like. At number 4, we come in with LSU. LSU, their over and under is 8.5. They get Lane Kiffin in the house. What do you think about this LSU team? 9 wins. Will they make the college football playoffs? I don't know if they've made the college football playoffs since they made it with that dynamic team, probably the best national championship team in the history of college football. Back when they had Joe Burrow and all those wide receivers. What do you think about this LSU team? Can they make it to the college football playoffs? And will they get 9 wins?
Man, no, I'm I don't I don't know that I see 9. If you beat Clemson and Louisiana Tech, okay, fine, there's 2. But we also know LSU has never started well in first games. They always drop games that they shouldn't at the first game of the year. So I'm going to give them Clemson and Louisiana Tech. Then they're going to probably lose the next 2. Then they'll beat McNeese. Okay, so you're 3-2, 4-2 with Kentucky, 5-2 with Mississippi State, 6-2. They should beat Auburn. You're going to have to beat Bama to go 7-2. You're probably losing to Texas. Of course, night game. Texas hasn't been to Death Valley in a long time, and that place is crazy. So I'm going to give Texas the edge. So you're 7-3. Tennessee, you have to get Tennessee and Arkansas back to back to get over 8 and go 9-3. I think 9-3 is the ceiling. I've got them losing to A&M only because we got the prime spot for them, and I'll talk about that when we get into the next team a minute. But I've got them 8-4, Rob. I really do. I could see 9. Don't get me wrong. But I just think they're going to have to get somebody that I don't have them getting right now.
Yeah, for me, I really see 2 games that I don't think they're going to win at all. I don't think they're going to beat Texas A&M, and I don't think they're going to beat Texas. Can they get Alabama? That's a game that they got to win. That they haven't been able to beat Alabama in quite some time. Can they get them? I think they can travel to Knoxville and possibly beat Tennessee, and I think for sure that they can beat Arkansas. I got them at 10-2 if they can beat Alabama. 9-3 probably is more a better prediction, but I think they get the over because I think they get to at least 9 wins. But can they get to 10-2 is the question for me. Can they get there? And I don't know if they do that. Yeah, I don't know if they do that. But it all starts with Clemson. Can they come out and win that very first game? Because if they don't win that very first game, SEC Sean, we're definitely taking the under on this one. But they got to get that first one. If they get that, I can take the over. But if they don't, it's under all day.
Yeah, I mean, if they start the season 1-3 or 2-3, if you get through McNeese, even 3-3 through Kentucky, that there's going to be, if you're 3-3 after the first 6, I mean, Bama, Texas. The problem, they're getting Tennessee late, so the quarterback's going to be figured out. Not only that, I mean, that's the advantage to that is that's Tennessee's game after coming to Kyle Field. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, if they're 3-3 by October, at the end of October 10th, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, let's move on to our third team that we had, our third ranked team in our SEC preview, the Texas A&M Aggies. Your guys, I really like this Texas A&M team. I think what they're doing under Mike Elko has been phenomenal. I think he's the right guy for the job. I think they know that he's the right guy for the job. They get a new offensive coordinator that might be a better fit for what Marcel Reed can do. I feel like they got talent everywhere offensively. They replacing some guys on the offensive line, but I think they did well enough to be able to still be able to run the ball. Will those running backs be able to get some yardage for them, especially down the stretch in some of their bigger games? Uh, I'm gonna go first on this because these is your guys. Texas A&M 8.5. I think Texas A&M is a playoff team again this year. I got them going at least 10-2. I think they definitely do the over here. And I think anytime you got to go to Cal Field to play them, especially if you got to go play them at night, you in for one heck of a show, and you probably going to get beat pretty good. I like this Texas A&M team. I like the direction that they're going. And outside of Texas, which they can beat Texas at home, that's the only game that I think that Texas A&M that I don't want Texas A&M to win because I'm a Texas Longhorns fan. But what's your thoughts on your Aggies? Are they going to beat this 8.5? And do you see them as a playoff team?
First off, I got to give a shout out to the mascot up here on the schedule with the little eye patch. Because everybody that doesn't know, A&M's mascot had to have her right eye removed. So she wears an eye patch now. So I had to do that. Man, Rob, I'm going to tell you right now, we're going over. That's a given. I honestly, in my mind, I have us 8-0 heading into the bye week. Missouri State, not a problem. Arizona State, whatever. Kentucky. Like, we get LSU perfectly squared where we need them. Early in the season, coming off the Ole Miss game. Emotion, let down. We stormed. LSU has a Marcel Reed problem anyway. That dude has torched them for the past 2 years. So I think LSU, we get them. Arkansas. It's craziness when those two teams play, but I think we get them. Missouri, not too worried about. Obviously, the Citadel. And I think we go to Bama and get Bama. I think we're 8-0, and then that's our bye week. Relax, reheal. South Carolina, we can go 2-2 in the back four, though. That's the trick. We can lose to South Carolina. We could beat Tennessee. We could lose to Oklahoma and beat Texas. We could beat South Carolina and Tennessee and lose to Oklahoma and Texas. I can see any 2-2 combination coming out of that. I can also see 3-1. I could see, I can see an 11-1, 10-2 season is what I see here. I would hate to lose the last 2 games because the narrative, can't finish in the end. But, I mean, who else is playing that at the back of their schedule? I mean, that's why I think we go 8-0. I think our schedule's front loaded with games winnable. But I think the back four are just some of the most brutal stretch you'll see in the SEC. With the travel to South Carolina, you do get Tennessee at home, but Oklahoma is not fun to travel to, and then Texas at home. So that's a hell. Luckily, the bye week is in between, because if not, that 5-week stretch from Bama to Texas would be just, oh my God. But I think if A&M goes 9-3 is kind of where I would see the low end on mine. But I see 10-2 with this team. This team, the running backs, they've got to step up. You're right. The offensive line has to gel. However, we do have one of the best offensive line coaches in college football in Adam Cushing. We have probably the premier strength and conditioning coach in Tommy Moffitt, who was there. If people don't know him, he was there when LSU was dominating people. He was their strength and conditioning coach that Brian Kelly got rid of. Thanks, Brian Kelly. The receiving, Rob, the receiving is nasty. The secondary is crazy. So we got to fix our run defense, but I think we will. I trust Elko to do that. We write higher for College Station, but I've got 10-2 A&M. That's just where I see it.
Yeah, I see their floor is 10-2, and then I see their upside is 12-0, 11-1. But I agree with you. Their freaking bye week is perfectly placed, man. Because I didn't look at that backstretch until just now, really, really in depth. That backstretch, man, woo, that's a tough backstretch. And they get that bye at the right time, in my opinion. Unlike this next team we're going to talk about. At 2, we came in with the Texas Longhorns. They have, in my opinion, a really tough schedule. They got them at 9.5. I think they're going to beat that because of the level of talent that they have on this team. But it's going to be a hard road to get to freaking 10 wins for this Texas team. If you look at that schedule, man, they have a really, really tough schedule. And they could easily be up under that 9.5. They could go as low as 8-4, in my opinion, and as high as 11-1. What's your thoughts on this Texas team, your rival? Do you see them making the college football playoffs?
Well, I'll say this. This is one of the most loaded rosters in all of college football. But I'm going to use something against Texas that has been mentioned before, not by me or any Aggies either, by the way. This is by other people. Texas seems to stumble when they have loaded rosters. And I know the old joke, and I've mentioned it with you before, is the ego of Texas people is just insane. And, so the Texas football fans, they think because they're Texas, they're going to walk out onto the field and just beat everybody. And sometimes I think the players hear that and kind of buy into it. If Texas goes and smacks, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, T1, don't jump in and rip me. But if Texas blows out Ohio State, that's be something I'd be concerned about, because Texas has a history of getting ahead of themselves. And then they'll drop a game to Tennessee and drop a game to Mississippi State. Almost beat them last year and had no business doing it. Luckily, but God, that Texas team is loaded, man. Arch has to have another solid year. He can't have, as they call the sophomore slump. He can't have that. Your receivers have to stay healthy. Cam Coleman has to prove it to me before I say he's that good. Granted, he hasn't had a good quarterback throwing him the ball, so let's give him that credit. But he's had a lot of drops too. Ryan Wingo has a lot of drops. You've got to get better. Y'all got a talented running attack. Is the offensive line better than last year? That's a question that we had last year. I have no questions about y'all's defense. That Oklahoma and Texas game could be 3-0. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, those two. So we'll see how that plays. 9-5. I see Texas 10-2, 11-1. I don't think you go undefeated. I just don't. I think you drop a game somewhere. Here's your problem. And you and I have discussed this. If you look, there's a gap between September 26th and October 10th. Your bye week is after Tennessee. Then you're going Red River, home for Florida, home for Ole Miss, home for Mississippi State, and then at Missouri, at LSU, Arkansas, and A&M, back to back to back to back to back, all 8. That's going to be rough. So we'll see how it plays out. I like your running backs. I like your receivers if they can clear up the drops. Your quarterback's good at what he can do. Like I said, your defense. I do have a question about your secondary, and if you can speak on that a little bit. I don't think your secondary is what it was. Your linebackers and your D-line are still there. But I think that secondary can be got, and that could be a problem when you're facing teams like in Ohio State with what we consider probably the best player in college football, Jeremiah Smith, even in A&M with all their weapons at wide receiver. So we'll let you speak on that a little more. But I think Texas, I would take the over 10-2, 11-1. I think is where you're going to sit at the end of the season, and for sure in the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, Texas has got to start the season 4-0. They got to beat Ohio State. They can't afford to lose to Ohio State again. If they could be 4-0 going into their bye week, and then they get Oklahoma, maybe they can go 10-2, 11-1, which is where I think their ceiling is 10-2, 11-1. Their floor is probably 8-4. I really feel like this Texas team has a lot of talent on it, but there are quite a few question marks. Will the offensive line be what it needs to be in order for this running game to click? It can't be all Arch's legs this season, and those running backs have got to be able to have running lanes in order for Steve Sarkisian to be able to call the kind of offense that he wants to call. I think if the offensive line can do well, Texas could be in good shape. Like you said, Cam Coleman, Ryan Wingo, you got to clean up those drops. Emmett Mosley, I think with those 2 guys out there, will get a lot of opportunities along with the tight ends. When you start looking at Nick Townsend and Emery Winston, those 2 guys will get a lot of touches. Maybe Muniz and Shannon will get some touches too, but they're more inline guys on that tight end, at that tight end position. Defensively, though, there's some more question marks. You talked about that secondary. I think if you go with Grayson Littleton and Bo Masco at the corners, you're okay there. But who's going to play the slot where Grayson Littleton played? Who's going to be the guy that's going to be able to do that? Who's going to fit the system that Will Muschamp wants to have? Because he wants a bigger guy there. And then at the safety position, we know what Jelani McDonald can do, but he's not necessarily a covered safety. They need to find a covered safety. Neither is Derek Williams. Derek Williams really isn't a covered safety. He's coming off of an ACL from 2 years ago. He's looking a lot better, but who's going to be the covered safety? So they move Kobe Black back to safety because he's a better covered safety guy. You know, you got Xavier Filsaime is another halfway decent cover guy at the safety position, but we don't know what that's going to look like yet. So those 2 question marks, man, when you talk about who's going to play the slot guy, who's going to be that other covered safety guy, you got those question marks out there, and until they're answered, you really don't know what Texas is going to look like. They got a lot of guys to choose from, but who can get the job done at those 2 positions is going to be key. And we're going to start to figure that out in a couple of weeks when Texas start to install their package for Texas State. Then we'll know who those guys are going to be. And right now we don't know because they're running different guys in there at that safety position and at that slot position. I think they're going to get it figured out, but it's still going to be a work in progress, and maybe towards the second half of the season, we'll start to see it get better. But early on, like when you play Ohio State, man, who is going to be the guy that's going to cover that freaking Jeremiah Smith when he comes out there? Because you don't have a Michael Taft or you don't have Makuba, guys that can do that. And Michael Taft was just a really smart player, so he was able to do some of those things. So we're gonna wait and see on that. But you're absolutely correct. Loaded team. They got some question marks though, and until those things are answered, we really don't know what Texas can be. For me, the floor is 8-4. The ceiling is 10-2, 11-1. Coming
Let
in
me
at number.
whoa, hold on, because I did not expect that from you. So I gotta come here. Hold on. Whoa. I'm calling time, throwing a flag, whatever you need to do. If 8-4 is Sark in serious trouble with this team,
I mean, oh man, it will definitely be an underachievement. 8-4 would be, but I think when you look at how tough this schedule is, he may get a little bit of leeway. They listen, man. Those fans are not going to like 8-4, especially if
no.
we don't make the college football playoffs 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
The stats didn't do Texas no favors, but at the same time, this team is loaded with talent, and Steve Sarkisian got to get them over the hump. I think he does, but the key one is that Ohio State game first and foremost. If they can get that win, could you imagine how confident this Texas team is going to be if they can get
Right.
that win over Ohio State?
Right. Yeah. They're just going to skyrocket if they beat Ohio State. But to all the fans, like I mentioned with Alabama, if Texas goes 8-4, please get on any kind of device and just Google Longhorns Radio Network in Austin, Texas, and just start listening, because my God, those people are going to lose their mind.
They're going to lose their ever freaking mind, that's for sure. And let's go to our number one team that we got on our schedule when we did our rankings for the SEC, and it's the Georgia Bulldogs. Their over and under is 9.5 as well. But all of us out there who watch college football, we all know that Georgia has to be the number one team in the SEC. Nobody has been able to dethrone them over the past maybe 4, 5, 6 years. So you gotta have Georgia there at number one, even if you don't think they have the most talented team. For us, Georgia's number one. Their over and under is 9.5. Do you see Georgia being a playoff team this year? And if they are, can they finally win a game in the playoffs?
Yeah, they're a playoff team. That's a given. Can they win a game in the playoffs? First off, take the over here. This is an 11-1 team, probably at worst. And that one could be Oklahoma. I don't see Bama giving them a problem. Ole Miss maybe, because it's in Oxford, and Ole Miss has gotten Georgia before in Oxford. But I still think this is an 11-1 team. I think their floor is 10-2 if they drop both of those games. But the scheduling gods love Georgia here. Can they win a playoff game? I can't answer that because I need you to tell me what Gunnar Stockton are we going to get. I know what the defense is going to do. Not worried about that. Not much. It's a recurring theme in the SEC this year that I'm hearing is defense. Texas, Oklahoma. I expect A&M's to take a massive step forward. Georgia, even Bama's got some defense. So, what Gunnar Stockton am I going to get in the playoff? Their running back, Nate, is it Frazier, right? Nate Frazier, is that him? Yeah. Can he stay healthy? He's a monster. We know Georgia's going to want to run the ball. That's Kirby Smart. Run the ball, play defense. Gunnar Stockton doesn't take a lot of shot plays. Had Branch last year at wide receiver, electric speed. Used him in the quick game, slants, bubbles, and let his speed and athleticism take over. Georgia has to find some sort of passing game downfield. They did it a little bit last year at the end of the Tennessee game because they had to, and that was more of Gunnar Stockton just throwing it and hoping, and it worked out. But tight ends obviously are going to be critical in this. That's a Kirby Smart staple. Kirby Smart is never going to have an electric, flashy offense. It's going to be 1980s football, run the ball, short passing game, and just stuff the other team from playing defense. So Georgia is not a team I see that could win a national title this year. I don't think they have the offense to do it. Maybe something changes, but as right now, I honestly don't think Georgia is a national title contender. I could see them winning a playoff game. I can see them winning the SEC because nobody else has. So we're going to see what happens with them. I'm taking the over for sure, but that's the $1 million question, Rob, is can they win a playoff game? And if you tell me I get A+ Gunnar Stockton, yeah, they can win. But I'm more that I'm going to get B Gunnar Stockton, the B average Gunnar Stockton. So that's where I am with Georgia.
Yeah, the scheduling guys definitely did Georgia a favor this season with the schedule that they got. I think they're definitely going to be 11-1, 12-0. They're probably going to, because of that schedule, have the advantage to make it to the SEC championship game. In my opinion, to either play the winner of the Texas A&M game. At least I hope that's how it plays out. We always want that game at the end of the season to be worth all the marbles, like it has been the last two seasons. I really feel like Georgia is going to be a good team. They're going to win a playoff game, but I'm like you. I don't think they have enough offensive power to play some of these teams that we know that's in college football, as talented as they are offensively and defensively, to be able to win the national championship. For me, I feel like Georgia, Texas, Texas A&M, LSU all have a chance to possibly make the college football playoffs. Three of them for sure, I hope, make it in Texas A&M, Georgia. Do you got four teams that you think from this SEC that can make the college football playoffs?
I do. It's just I said they're not earlier, but I think you're going to go Georgia. Any combination of Texas A&M. And then I think, in all honesty, your fourth is going to be, does LSU or Oklahoma go 9-3 with the right key win? And I could see one of those in. It's going to come down to those two, I think, to get the fourth one. I don't think the SEC gets 5 in this year, not with a 9-game schedule. I think 4 is the ceiling for the SEC. And I think they get, like I said, the first 3. You mentioned Georgia and Texas A&M winner in the SEC championship game. I'm going to go a step further, and I'm going to tell you that little round robin between Texas, Oklahoma, and A&M that all play each other, whoever goes 2-0 in that stretch will be in the SEC championship game.
That's a good take for sure. That's definitely a good take.
And I'd have to go back and look if LSU, because I know LSU plays Texas and A&M. I don't know if they play Oklahoma, because if they do, then whoever goes 3-0 out of those group is definitely in. But, yeah, I see 4. Georgia, Texas A&M, and a combination of LSU and Oklahoma is where I would see 4. I just think 4 is too. With this schedule, look at the over and under numbers, Rob. The highest over and under in this conference is 9.5. Last year, I think Georgia was at like 10.5. Yeah. And look how many teams are 7-5, 7.5, 6.5. The middle, because of this 9-game schedule, is the unknown. Nobody's ever seen it. Nobody knows what's going to happen with it. So I think even Vegas is struggling to do some of this. There's no way with that schedule Georgia should be 9.5. There is no way. With that schedule, Georgia should come in as an easy 10.5.
10.5, yeah. That was my thinking too. And the thing is, though, we looked at the Big 12, and they had a team that was 10.5. We looked at the ACC. They had a team that was up there too at 10.5. And I feel like when we look at the SEC, we didn't get to 10.5. I think next week when we look at the Big Ten, we won't get to 10.5. I think they're going to be 9.5 as well. If somebody in that Big Ten has a 10.5, that's going to be news to me because I don't see anybody in that conference having an over and under of 10.5, in my opinion, with the schedules that I see.
The only one that would have a 10.5, in honesty, there's only two I can think that would even consider that. And I haven't looked, so I don't know. And it'd have to be either Oregon or Ohio State.
Oregon or Ohio State, yeah.
I mean, Oregon is loaded. We know that. So, yeah, we're going to find out next week. But, yeah, I thought that was weird when I was putting this together last night with these over and unders, Rob. I was like, this seems weird. But, like I said, nobody knows what to expect out of this. So we'll see what happens. But it's going to be fun. I'm going to tell you that every week in the SEC is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. They're going to carry Saturday football like they did last year, the year before that, the year before
That's
that.
right. As much as
take some Big Ten fans.
As much as people love to say, and especially these Big Ten fans, especially the one sitting down there in the bottom of the screen who's flying to Jamaica, and some others that we've run into. ESPN media bias. Let me tell you something. The coaches put 9 SEC schools in the top 25. And we don't even have the most schools to vote on. We only have 16. The Big Ten has 18. The ACC has 17. So, the coaches know what's up. Of course, we're not going to talk about past national championship trophies because that's just going to ruin my argument. Unless we go back 15 years.
Yeah. T1, did you have something to add before we wrap up?
No, I think you were just pointing at me.
No, I'm just listening to a little foolery right now. So I got my mic muted. I done heard SEC Sean say. I done heard SEC Sean say if Texas blow Ohio State out. Then you came in and just said if we could beat Ohio State. So y'all know SEC Sean got it right. He know what he's talking about. He know what I do. He know how I get down. So hey, I'm just enjoying it just like the music.
I knew you was down there listening in. I knew I had to throw some jabs at you a little bit. Come on now.
Yeah. I just took him. You know, I'm going to. We're about to grab the board this plane in a second.
Yep. Be good.
All right, bro. Well, you enjoy, and I'll see you when
Most
you get
definitely.
back. Those kids gonna be waiting on you.
Man, I know. That's why I had to get out and get it in real quick, so I can recharge my battery. You know, I just started my summer break last week.
Yeah.
You know, so this is only the second week of my summer break. So I'm trying to enjoy it and then get back to work.
Yeah. All right, bro. We'll see you when you return. All right, everybody out there, we appreciate y'all for joining in, checking us out today. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to every channel that you see scrolling across the top. We really appreciate all your support. SEC Sean, thanks again. Those graphics were phenomenal. We appreciate you and all that hard work you put in to help our shows be as successful as they have been. Thank you so much for that. And hopefully we'll see everybody again on Tuesday. Make sure that you hit that bell so you get notifications anytime we're going to go live, because we're going to be bringing you all kinds of previews coming up over the next couple of weeks before the season starts. So make sure you tune in and check us out. SEC Sean, enjoy the rest of your day, bro. I appreciate you.
Yep. Be good.
All right. Peace.
All right.